Hey, what's up everybody and welcome back to News Dose. And I know it's Monday and not everybody necessarily likes Monday. I get it, trust me. But we do have a pretty good start to the week here. We do have a few new game releases here that appear to be must-play experiences. Now, one of these are a little bit more on the obvious side of things, though for this other one here, it is an Xbox Game Pass game that is going just a little bit under the radar, but I'd say if you're a JRPG fan, yeah, you might want to pay attention to this one because it's sounding like it could be one of the best games to release in this genre in quite some time, and really just one of the best games to release this December. A modern classic, if you will. Now, we do also have some good news for you PC fans out there, as PlayStation is bringing yet another PlayStation 5 exclusive over to the PC platform. And really by this point, PC fans, I mean, you are just living the good life here. If you're on PC, I mean, you just get a little bit of everything. You get your indies, you get your big third-party games, Xbox games, PlayStation games. I mean, really all that's left here is Nintendo, and well, technically, there are ways to play those as well, though I'm not going to necessarily promote that on my channel. With all that said, though, let's just go and get to the good stuff here and get into our first topic of the day, and you're quickly going to realize today's a pretty good day for you classic JRPG fans. Trust me, it'll all make sense the more you watch. But to start this video off, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy because, lo and behold, ESRB ratings have been spotted for the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster series. Now, this includes Final Fantasy 1 through Final Fantasy 6, and of course, these games have been available on PC and mobile for quite a while. But fans were displeased when Square Enix, for whatever reason, we're talking about Square Enix here, they left money on the table by not releasing them on consoles. I mean, come on. I understand that Square Enix makes some questionable decisions from time to time. More on that here in just a second. But I think that we all pretty much know that the Nintendo Switch out of all consoles might very well be the perfect platform for a series like this. Nintendo is absolutely monstrous over in Japan, where Final Fantasy is particularly super popular. And plus, these games would fit perfectly into that handheld form factor. It's honestly absolutely absurd that Square Enix hasn't done this sooner, but yes, ESRB ratings have now been discovered for both the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch. Unfortunately though, there's no mention of an Xbox version for the time being. Now, maybe that'll change with an official announcement, but knowing Square Enix, I wouldn't really bank on that actually happening. I don't know. Square Enix, they just seem allergic to Xbox for whatever reason, but at the end of the day, it does appear console fans, for the most part, can look forward to playing those classic Final Fantasy games on PlayStation and Nintendo sometime here soon. Now we're just kind of waiting for a more official announcement, but with these ratings here, it's really only a matter of time. I will say this much though, I do hope they also announce a physical version because as a collector myself, I mean, it would be pretty awesome to have all these games on a physical cart. Now, speaking of classic JRPGs, we did get an update for Dragon Quest III HD 2D. It's been a little while since we've seen, or really for that matter, heard anything about this game. The good news here, though, is that it appears that will be changing sometime here soon, as Yuji Horii, the Dragon Quest creator, in an interview with Famitsu said this: "I can't say much yet, but we might be able to deliver more news on Dragon Quest III soon." Now, there does seem to be some speculation that he could maybe be referring to Jump Festa, which takes place, I believe, later this month on December 17th and then December 18th. But at the end of the day, that's just fan speculation. So I don't know if that'll actually amount to anything or not. But regardless of where we get an update, the key takeaway here is that they're ramping up some hype for some type of incoming announcement. I think with that, we could maybe get a 2023 release sometime here soon. Fingers crossed for that, because, I mean, this game looks like another one of those absolutely gorgeous HD 2D games. We've seen it with a few other games, whether that be Triangle Strategy, we've seen it with Live Alive HD. That one seemed to have a lot of success. But this time, it is coming from a very popular series. This one could be a big release, especially over in Japan, where Dragon Quest is extremely popular. Next up here, let's go and talk about Xbox, as it looks like they're working on a new Xbox controller design. I'd say this generation, Xbox, they kind of took the it's not broke, don't fix it type of mentality when it comes to their controllers, which, I mean, that's fine. There's nothing really wrong with that. They make incredibly comfortable controllers, and they did also make some small improvements here and there, specifically when it comes to the D-pad, which, I mean, I think that was a great improvement. But if you were hoping for some more sweeping changes, Well, now thanks to a new patent that's made its way online, it appears they are considering just that. If you take a look over here, this patent shows an Xbox controller with an LCD screen. Now, one thing to note here is that they're not removing any buttons. They still have the share, start, and select buttons, or whatever you want to call those. They're still there and everything, but what this LCD screen does is that it displays when a user is connected to either a console or a cloud-based device. Of course, Xbox, they do have their cloud gaming platform, and we know that that's a primary focal point for their future. They're hoping that that service takes off in a bigger way down the line in the hopes that it'll reach that quote-unquote 2 billion gamers out there, and one way that they can do that is by ensuring fans can more easily connect their controllers to both platforms with as little hassle as possible. That appears to be what they're trying to do here, though with the addition of an LCD screen, I'd say that there's also other possibilities in play here. While they don't necessarily describe it in this particular patent, you can't really rule out other features being implemented similar to PlayStation's touchpad. They could maybe add touch controls. For that matter, I'd say that if Xbox is in fact redesigning their controllers, which it does appear that they are considering that, you also have to kind of wonder if they'll implement some of that DualSense technology like adaptive triggers, as an example. See, Phil Spencer, he actually did suggest something similar to this in the past when he said this: "We're definitely thinking about different kinds of devices that can bring more gamers to more places. There's probably some work that we'll do on a controller. I think Sony's done a nice job with their controller, and we kind of look at some of that, and there are things that we should go do." So yeah, I think if you read between the lines there definitely seems to be a possibility that some of those more sweeping changes could actually be on the way, and this patent might just be the first sign of just that. Now, speaking of Xbox, let's go and talk about two different December games that are receiving high, and I mean high praise. Now, the first one here is a new Xbox Game Pass game. You just gotta love it. And this one being Chained Echoes. This game released a few days ago, and it's got all the signs of being a major surprise hit. And I think that there's a good chance if this praise continues, we're going to see that word of mouth really spread and produce a quietly successful game in the long run. Now, we have talked about this game a few different times on the channel, so we're a little ahead of the curve here, but reviews are rolling out now, and in every way, this game is receiving high remarks. Right now, on OpenCritic, it has a 91 overall score. Then over on Metacritic, it has a 94 with a 9.3 user rating. And then over on Steam, and I do tend to put a lot of stock into Steam reviews, I think it's a great place to see if fans are enjoying said game, you know, as long as there's no review bombing or whatever. But yes, fans are very much enjoying this game with an 89% approval rating. So, I mean, as you can see, both critics and fans, they seem to be on the same page here. Now, to be fair, there's not necessarily a ton of reviews as of this recording, so its score could change quite considerably depending on what scores it receives from this point forward, but it really does appear that this is an excellent JRPG. Not only are all these critics giving it a lot of praise, but I also checked out a few YouTube reviews, including Switch Up, Backlog Battle, and Noisy Pixel, and they all pretty much said the same thing. If you like classic JRPGs from the Super Nintendo era, you're more than likely going to enjoy this game. It's apparently got a good story, it's got good characters, and one thing that I have continuously heard is that its combat is both satisfying and kind of unique at the same time. See, one interesting thing about this game is that it doesn't actually use an XP system where you level up your characters, but it seems like this change was handled brilliantly. So yeah, definitely don't sleep on Chained Echoes. I'm probably going to play this game myself here in the coming days, as it does sound like it is a very, very good classic-style JRPG with some modern changes. And as a fan of this genre myself, yeah, I'm stoked to check this one out. It very well might be a modern classic. Well, actually, about that, of course, The Witcher 3 very much is a modern classic in its own. And what do you know? That next generation upgrade will be out later this week on December 14th, and it sounds like it is a must-play experience, or for a lot of you all out there, a must-replay experience. Reviews are rolling out now, and it sounds like that delay and CD Projekt Red taking over the project themselves was absolutely the right decision to make, because that next generation version has a 97 overall score as of this recording. Sounds like this is a considerable update with a lot of love and care put into it. I was listening and reading into some different reviews, and it seems like the best change here was with its performance mode. Not only does it improve textures, visuals, and things like that, but it does bring The Witcher 3 up to that 60 frames per second standard. Now, it does also have the option of running in ray tracing mode if that's something you prefer, but it is confirmed that that is in sacrifice to its frame rate, where you'll play at 30 frames per second instead. Now, that's a trade-off you might want to make. It just all kind of depends on the person. But based on the reviews that I saw, the graphic enhancements didn't really seem considerable enough to make that sacrifice worth it. So just kind of keep that in mind going into the game. But one thing that I have noticed is that some reviewers were surprised in how many changes and upgrades were actually made. It does seem like CD Projekt Red made a lot of little big type of changes. There's changes to the camera, allowing you to bring it in closer for a more immersive experience. Roach, being your horse, has more animations, making them feel more lifelike, and just a ton of additions like that. These are little changes that really adds for a grander experience, and it seems like there's some legitimate surprises and enhancements with this upgrade. And CD Projekt Red, what they're doing here is that they're just kind of letting fans discover those on our own. So yeah, it might be time to replay this game once again. I mean, I've already played through the main campaign twice myself, but you know, some games they just need a third replay, and well, you know, The Witcher 3. Yeah, it might very well be one of those games. On to our final topic though, PlayStation is bringing yet another PlayStation 5 exclusive over to PC via Steam, and this one has been in the rumor mill for quite some time. So I don't think that this is going to necessarily shock anybody per se, but it is now finally official. Returnal is confirmed for PC. Yeah, one of the worst kept secrets in the industry, but there it is. Now, we still don't have an official release date as of this moment. For the time being, all we have is a 2023 release window with a vague quote-unquote coming soon. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, but the PC version does come with its free Ascension DLC, meaning PC players right out of the gate will have access to its Suspend cycle, which was very controversial when this game first launched on the PlayStation 5. See, the thing about this game is that it has kind of a love-hate relationship with the community. Some fans absolutely adore this game and consider it to be one of the better third-person shooters available, but when it first launched, it didn't have a suspend system. Now that's an important feature because this is a challenging roguelike experience, and if you want to make it to the end of the game, you'll have to invest a considerable amount of time into it. However, because it didn't have a suspend system when it first launched, fans had to rely on the PlayStation 5's sleep mode, which didn't always work properly, so when fans jumped back into their game, they would often find that they had to restart back from the beginning. I mean, this game's already difficult, so that was an incredibly frustrating situation. But after several months, Housemarque did eventually incorporate the much-requested Suspends feature that allows you to save and come back to your game at a later time. So I think with that inclusion right out of the gate, I think Returnal has a better opportunity to have success on PC. I think that it will, at the very least, kind of leave a better impression for a lot of gamers out there. I mean, it is a good game. Now, we'll still have to wait and see if Sony actually advertises it properly, though. They've kind of struggled to do that with some of their recent PC releases, but either way, this is yet another PlayStation PC edition. Again, for you PC fans out there, you all really are reaping all the rewards for Xbox and PlayStation becoming more multi-platform. Let's go and take a look at the poll of the day, though, and technically I did actually post this one up last week. I just didn't have time to talk about it until now, but we are going to go over it today, where I asked you all which Activision Blizzard franchise is your favorite. And as you can see here, the winner was Call of Duty with 39% of the votes. Then you have Diablo coming in at second with 24%. 19% went to other, which includes a host of different franchises, whether it be Spyro, StarCraft, World of Warcraft, there's Hexen, Prototype. There was a lot of different comments that praised all kinds of different games. Then you have Crash Bandicoot with 13% of the votes, and then Overwatch with 6%. I mean, yeah, Activision has a lot of IP, but it comes as no real surprise that Call of Duty came away as the winner here. I mean, on a yearly basis, Call of Duty is among the most popular releases, topping the charts every single year. I mean, to just kind of put things into perspective, Call of Duty outsold Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in November over in the United States. I mean, Pokemon sold like 10 million units in 3 days, but it still couldn't beat Call of Duty in the United States. It's just a massive franchise, and this is exactly why Microsoft, Sony, and all these regulators are having all of these back and forths. I mean, there's other things that play too, and the FTC is definitely letting politics get involved. We talked about this during the weekend, but at the end of the day, it's clear that Activision Blizzard is a powerhouse largely because of something like Call of Duty. Of course, though, we can't forget about all these other franchises as well. I mean, you have Diablo, that is massively popular, which that shows in the poll as well. Then you have games like Spyro the Dragon, Overwatch, and of course, you have Crash Bandicoot. Now that one there, that's actually my own personal favorite. I gotta give Crash some love here. I am a big fan of 3D platformers, and when it comes to Crash Bandicoot, this franchise not only is unique for the genre, but I'd also consider it as one of the all-time greats. Whatever the case may be, though, just looking through all the comments, you can see all of these different beloved Activision Blizzard games. Just going through a small list here, I mean, you all mentioned Prototype, Tony Hawk, Guitar Hero, Hexen, StarCraft, Warcraft, Singularity. I mean, I haven't heard about that one for a long time. And the list just kind of goes on and on and on. They really do have this treasure trove of IP. I think for me, is that if it does eventually get approved, which I think that it ultimately will. I mean, we'll see about all of that, but I'm hoping with the Xbox Game Pass model that maybe Activision Blizzard is able to prioritize some of these other franchises a little bit more. I mean, I guess we'll see, maybe, eventually. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.